The time has come for another showering of gore, and like a shark that smells blood, I have been summoned once again. The Quarry was released on Friday, June 10th, 2022. It is the spiritual sequel to 2015's Until Dawn, developed by SuperMassive Games. Much like Until Dawn, the game ditches traditional gameplay in favor of a more cinematic presentation. You only take control of your physical character and explore during specific moments in the game. Otherwise, you just participate in split-second decisions, where you must hit a certain combination of buttons when prompted. This type of game is not for everyone, but there are also plenty of things that the Quarry has going for it. I'm Levi from Hardwired, and I'm here to wade through the entrails and deliver you the details. Without giving too much away, the Quarry is a creature feature at its heart. The narrative doesn't reinvent the wheel. The story is average at best. The characters are all likable. The creatures have an overall cool design, but it's not Shakespeare. There aren't any clever plot twists, and the game's narrative is very straightforward. The game is a horror story, however there's levity provided by certain situations and by most characters. Every character that you play has a multifaceted personality. Not a single character is one-dimensional. As you see the many characters from their own point of view, an opinion that you formed about one of them while playing as someone else earlier in the game is rendered erroneous. That is the greatest strength of the story told by the Quarry. That also led me to want to save every character that I could on my first playthrough. They were all so likable that I was very upset anytime one of them died. The violence in the game is downright brutal as well, oftentimes eviscerating the character that you've grown to love in the quickest, most unforgiving instant. The game is all about choices that you make, though I'm probably a bit daft for expecting this, but the choices weren't as wide-ranging as I had hoped that they would be. In my mind, I imagined a cabin in the woods scenario where you make a certain decision and you're locked in with redneck torture family zombies, or mermen, or giant spiders, or killer clowns. But in this game, you're locked in with the one specific monster type and storyline no matter what choices you make. I was hoping that you would end up in a variety of different settings and situations at the end game, but sadly the choices you make only slightly alter the path through which you make it to roughly the same ending. Sure, every counselor can live or die, but in the grand scheme of things, none of it really matters, as at the end of the game the universe at large doesn't even notice their presence or absence. Just like in real life. Oh, the existential dread of it all. Anyways, for the most part, you're making choices in dialogue which determines if whoever you're currently controlling is a nice person or a jerk. Depending on how you interact with other characters, it can reinforce camaraderie or cause a rift between counselors, though they pretty much make it to the same dilemmas in the end, whether they are fighting amongst themselves or getting along. The Quarry has an impressive cast that lend both their voice and their likeness to the characters that they play. Many of the names are recognizable, and some are absolute legends of horror cinema. When I said the Quarry has plenty of things going for it, the cast is the biggest slice of that pie. The performances are superb, and it elicits the feeling of watching a movie instead of playing a game. Sometimes so much so that you set your controller down, you get you a little drink of water, you lean back on your couch and relax. Ah, that's nice. You're engrossed in the actors dancing around on your screen like angels. Mesmerized, you might say. Then a monster attacks, the game pops up a QuickTime event, and because you weren't holding your controller, your favorite character is now dead, and you're left grieving and morose. You've got Ethan Suplee, who I am always happy to see in anything that I'm watching. As far as genre heroes go, we've got Dewey from Scream, there's Henrietta/Chet from Evil Dead, Elise from the Insidious films, Ed Harley from Pumpkinhead, who was also Bishop in Aliens. These actors comprise the Hackett family that owns Hackett's Quarry, which is the name of the titular quarry within this game. They sold the game for me off their names alone. They do a wonderful job in their roles. The young actors who play the counselors all deliver solid performances as well. It really feels like a trip to the movies. I cannot say enough nice things about the acting in this game. On the surface, the game is indeed a horror story, but I never once felt anxious in the game. There were no effective jump scares. The game is not frightening in the least. When I play horror games, I'm kind of hoping to have my pants scared off, and this game just doesn't have that. The carnage in the game is some of the best I've seen rendered out for a video game, and makes me think back to good old 80's horror films when everything was splattertastic. I did appreciate how when blood spews on someone or they trip and fall in the mud, the grime and filth stays on them, and that attention to consistency is always admirable. Graphically, this game is a visual feast, especially when it comes to the character models. This game may have the most realistic looking hair I've ever seen in a game. Though sometimes when there is a light source behind the hair, it causes a strange, blurry halo effect around their head. Before we get into lighting, we have to talk about this water. There are some scenes where the characters swim and the water physics are horrendous. There are minimal waves on the surface as they tread, and when they start splashing each other, the splashes look like they don't even belong in the scene. Credit where credit is due though, the way rainfall affects the hair and clothing of the characters is very close to real life. Like, wet hair looks great in this game. The lighting in the game is exceptional, though sometimes the shadows that tree limbs cast on surfaces are a little distracting and it seems unnatural. During indoor scenes in daylight, windows that have sunlight hitting them from the outside have weird flickering shadows dancing around the edges, which breaks the immersion slightly. But this is still an astonishingly gorgeous game. The game has some odd music choices, but I suppose it fits with the cool, young counselors. There are several songs in it in addition to the score. Many of the songs had me feeling like I was watching a CW teen drama. If I could describe it perfectly, the game's overall sound design reminded me of Screen, the TV series that aired on MTV in 2015. Also concerning music, there's an option to play the game in streamer mode, where it replaces the licensed songs with generic music if you're a streamer, so that's a considerate feature, especially given how often DMCA takedowns are issued on things like Twitch. Overall, The Quarry is a choose-your-own-adventure game that is an enjoyable experience. It has an amazingly talented cast and some awesomely gnarly kills. Its graphics are sensational and its characters are entertaining. The storyline is a little basic, but you'll still appreciate the narrative as it unfolds. Quick-time event games aren't typically my cup of tea, but I still took delight in controlling these characters' fates. The Quarry gets a 7 out of 10. For Hardwired, I've been Levi Barner. See you for the next bloodbath.